it all. The perfect job.
Man. Hey.
The perfect girl.
You look like a movie star.
Which one?
Gary Busey.
The perfect life.
You know anything about this Frankie Freako guy? He's like a little gremlin that likes to party.
You shouldn't call numbers like that.
Until one day, things got Freako.
Hello?
This is Frankie.
Yeah, buddy. Are you ready?
Ready for what?
To party, my man!
Yes! I'm ready to party!
Here we
Oh my God.
We're here to help you loosen up. We're gonna party hard, and then we'll be on our way. Time to get freako!
Shamadoo.
Listen, you little freaks.
I'm
gonna make you pay!
Is everything all right? You sound stressed.
Oh no. Don't pick it up!
Frankie! What is going on?
They found us! You can't escape me!
When the world is in peril,
Where are we?
No more games, Frankie! No one runs from me! You're mine!
don't be a hero.
This is bad.
I believe in you.
Let's boogie!
Be a freako.
Things got a little freako.
Frankie Freako.
President Munch needs a new concubine.
He's a keeper. Ow!
Boom, there you go. That was a trailer for Frankie Freako arriving on October 4th. I'm Kuya, this is Nerds Rule the World. Joining me to talk all things Frankie Freako is Steven Kostanski, the director, writer on Frankie Freako. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
I love that you are in front of your practical effects. All of the creatures, I see all different sorts of things behind you. I love it as a filmmaker myself as well, and one who got into filmmaking because of just all the fun toys we get to play with, especially creature effects. I love it. Frankie Freako, this gem of an idea. I was reading a little bit your director notes that, we don't get kind of like Tiny Terror's little monster type fair, lighter fare, kind of like horror films like this anymore. What was the gem? What was the apple that hit you in the head to start putting, fingers to keyboard or pen to pad to just create this crazy film?
I mean, I've always wanted to make a little monster movie. Like, as a filmmaker, my goal is to kind of hit every subgenre in the genre space, like whether it's horror, sci-fi, fantasy, and explore all the weird little nooks and crannies of these genres. One of those corners is the little monster movie. I, like most horror fans, I grew up on a pretty healthy diet of like Gremlins and Ghoulies and Puppet Master, and it's something that isn't really represented in the genre space right now. And also, more specifically, like this type of, like you said, lighter genre fare. I was just excited at the prospect of making a movie that was accessible, that didn't necessarily wallow in misery and grime. Not that there isn't a place for that type of movie, but to me, the fun of the horror genre is that you get a whole spectrum of things that could run the range of being grim and dark and awful and miserable to being light and fluffy and easy to digest. And so I wanted to represent that side of the genre a little more. We were streaming little monster movies a couple of years ago. My DOP Pierce was streaming on his Twitch channel. So I basically ingested every little monster movie there is. And that, I think, broke my brain a little bit and snapped me onto this idea of wanting to make my own, and thinking at the time that it would be easy compared to something like Psycho Goreman, my previous film, which was like, very creature suit heavy, effects heavy. In my brain, my rationale was, well, they're small, so the problems will be smaller. I can confirm that that was the opposite. Making a puppet movie is very hard. But yeah, that was sort of the genesis of it, was just watching all of these movies again, falling in love with the practical nature of it, and also the like unreality of it. Like watching actors interact with puppets is one of my favorite things. It's so goofy to watch somebody struggle to give a performance against an inanimate object. And so that's basically what I subjected Conor the star to for the entire movie.
I love that. Was there an idea or sequence or particular scene that was like the first idea that kind of came into mind? Like a guy getting attacked by, you know, this, or what was it like that first popped into your head and then you started, you know, then layering up, finalizing out the story?
I think there's like a sequence in the basement that's very Home Alone. And that was definitely one of the like early sequences I came up with, was this idea of like the puppets setting booby traps and having characters navigate those. Cause it was also me thinking practically, like applying a bit of Jaws logic of like, how can you feel the shark without seeing the shark, like feel its presence. And so for this, it was like, you have actors interacting with booby traps, and like there's like guns and things with wires attached to the triggers. So it's like you're feeling the influence of the puppets without actually having to get shots of them being puppeteered necessarily. So it was me trying to like think of workarounds to like having to show them too much and be a little bit more tactful with when they're shown and when we feature them. So yeah, that basement sequence was definitely like one of the early chunks of the movie that I thought up.
I love stuff like that. I just, as a filmmaker as well, it's always exciting in how we challenge ourselves with the work that we're trying to do and create the art. So in regards to the challenge, you kind of mentioned it earlier, working with puppets. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Did you have to bring on somebody on board? What was just like that whole process of doing that? And would you do it again after Frankie Freako?
I mean, it was very tough. I like did not anticipate the speed bumps we were going to hit doing it, but I was very ambitious. Like there was some animatronic work in the film. Like there's stuff that should cost $100,000 and we had like pennies to make this happen. So it was just a case of me figuring it out as we went along. Nobody on my team had done this before. So we were just, again, like making it up, laying the track in front of us as the train was moving forward. And I mean, ultimately it all worked out, but some of the challenges that came up were like, where do you put a puppeteer in a scene? Like we were lucky in that we shot the whole thing on a set. So we were able to like cut holes in walls to like hide people, but it was a very uncomfortable process for the puppeteers because, you know, you're holding your arm up for hours at a time. So factoring in puppeteer stamina was a big thing. That was a big learning curve, and just where to like place people. Like, you know, you have a puppeteer with his hand like this guy has to go somewhere. Like, so there was a lot of paint outs that we did in post as well. Like we anticipated some of that, but we definitely had to go do like an entire pass through the movie just to double check that there weren't any like, you know, like top of a guy's head behind a bed poking through and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's like all the logistical stuff you don't really think about until you're on set and you've got the puppet and you're framed up and then you've got a guy behind it and you're like, oh, that guy has to go somewhere. So yeah, that was, I'd say, one of the biggest challenges. But having said all that, I would probably do it again just because I think we worked out a lot of the kinks on this one. This was our first foray into like puppet heavy movie. I'd had some experience in the past. Psycho Goreman had some puppet stuff, but it was all very simple. So this was a big learning curve, but I would do it again, knowing what I learned on the first film.
I dig that. So maybe a Frankie Freako too, if you will. And pro tips for all my fellow filmmakers that are supporters of this channel as well. We love getting into the nitty gritty of filmmaking. One of the things that really grabbed me to kind of like close this out is it reminded me of Garbage Pail Kids. I know this is your own IP and Frankie Freako, but I'm like, can I get Kostanski to make us a Garbage Pail Kids? Can we get that property back? Did you get that thrown at you at all?
I mean, it's definitely something that popped up, and that movie was a bit of an inspiration. Like anything from that era definitely has a bit of influence on this film. Like the Garbage Pail Kids movie, Nothing But Trouble was another one. Like just movies where like kind of like dorks get like straight edge dork people get pulled into a crazy situation, like an insane alternate universe. Like any movie where that happens, even like the Super Mario Brothers movie was a bit of an inspiration in terms of like entering a weird fantasy world that operates on its own logic. But Garbage Pail Kids definitely in the back of my mind while making this, and it did come up a few times.
I love that. Well, I'm an 80s baby, so this just fed into that nostalgia for me, and I had such a fun time. It's a fun film. Bravo to you, Steven, and can't wait to see what you're going to do next. To close us out, tell my audience why they should check out Frankie Freako, exclusively in theaters from Shout Studios on October 4th.
I mean, the movie is a wild ride. It is not what you're expecting, even based off of the poster or the trailer. There's a lot of craziness on display. We pack a lot into 82 minutes, so it's a really fun. It's a fun adventure. Bring the kids. It's fairly light. There's nothing grim or particularly gruesome or offensive about it. I tried to make a movie that was accessible for almost everybody, but still totally insane and unhinged. So yeah, check it out.
I love it. Thank you, Steven. Everybody check out Frankie Freako exclusively in theaters on October 4th from Shout Studios. I'm Kuya P. This is Nerds Rule the World. All right, there's a cut. Thank you. Thank you. And I am recording. All right. Thank you, Sarah. Hello, Steven. Let's rock and roll. I'm going to do a 3, 2, 1 count before I get going, because I'm going to put the trailer right in front of our interview.
Awesome.
All right, here we go. In a 1, 2, 3.